Hi, it's Beverly here over at Crafty and Chaos, and I'm here with another video for you on the baby embellishment series, which is part of our main embellishment series. So as you can see, this is the sort of file that we're actually aiming for. This time it's a baby's bottle. It's quite simple to make. A baby's soother or dummy, and 4 words that can be used on baby cards. So you can put them together: sweet one, darling one, adore, sweet. And if you've got the embellishment series part 1, you can add the words baby, etc. that were in the other file. So just to run you quickly through the greeting part of this. First of all, you'd need to go to thefont.com. This is where I tend to get my files from, and the font that I've used in this particular project is Better Together. So what I've done, I've typed in the words Better Together and then click search. That will bring up the font, and it's this one here. So just so you can have a look, you might want to put baby or something that you might want to have a look at, and that's what the word baby would look at like. So you can get a preview of what the font's going to look like by typing in the preview box. Let's try it with a capital. And there you can see it. So you get an idea of what the font's going to look like in your project before you download it. So if you look at it, it's a demo font. You can download it and it's free for personal use. Most of the fonts that are available in DeFont are free for personal use. There are 1 or 2 that are commercial as well, or you can buy the rights to use them if you contact the person that's actually designed them, if you wanted to use them in your commercial project. But if it's just for a personal card, you're fine. So you first of all click download. Then that would download the font into your downloads folder. I'm not going to do it again because I've already done it. Then you would locate the font in the downloads folder and install it. In the Mac, it's very straightforward. You just double click and click install font, the true type font. So it's got to be the one that's TTF, which is true type font, because those are the ones that work in your Brother Scan and Cut. So once you've done that, you've got your file downloaded, you've got it actually installed on your computer, and at that point is then when you would open the type converter software. Don't open type converter software before then, otherwise you're going to be struggling, because it's going to not be in the list of fonts that are available for your use. So what you will do then is you would open the Brother Font Converter. So once you've got that open, this is what it looks like. It's quite small. You can make it bigger, and you type in what you want. So let's choose one of the words. I did adore as one of the words, so we'll type that in, and then look down the list till you find Better Together Demo. There it's giving you a quick sort of preview of it. If you want a bigger preview, you click the preview button, and that's what it's going to look like. Now obviously that's not filled in, but we can sort that out in the Canvas software. So close. So then you would click save, and you would save it somewhere on your computer of your choosing. Again, I'm not going to do that step because I've already done it in the previous, when I was actually making the main file. So what we're going to do now, we're going to start with a clean page, and this is what we're aiming for. So I'm going to leave that page now. It's okay because I've got it saved on my computer, and I'm going to first of all import SVG, and I'm going to find, I'm not going to do all of the words because that'd just be repeating myself, so I'm going to choose one. I need to be in my FCM files. Just bear with while I find the correct file. So here we are, and we're looking for adore. So, and then say OK. So now it's brought that in for us. I'm just going to move it away from the edge of the mat so that it's easy for us to see, and increase the size so you can see what's happening. Now, as I've shown you in the past, if we fill that with colour, and we'll choose pink, you can see that it's also filled in all of these holes. And if you're actually going to be drawing that, it's going to shade them in. And we want them to actually be removed. So what we do is we go edit and... So we'll do that again. Edit, process the overlap and divide. So again, now we can just delete the centres of those. And then again, edit, process, overlap and divide. And again, edit, process, overlap and divide. And finally on the E, edit, process, overlap and, oops, let go, edit and divide, and then remove that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it and I'm going to weld it. So that should weld all of our letters together, and if we zoom in close you can see that it's actually done that. It's welded the letters together. Now what I can do at this stage is go into the properties, so I need to select the hub. Now notice now I don't need to group it or anything because it's welded together, it's become one file. But what I do want it to be, if you want it to be a dedicated sort of sentiment rather than something you're going to cut, then I suggest you do drawing line only. If not, then you could leave it as cutting and drawing. But you must click this in, fill the area in the outline with drawing function. So that means when you go into scan and cut, you can set that area inside the lines to actually shade in into whatever colour you wish, whichever colour of pen you've got in there. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make mine a drawing line just because I'd use that as a sentiment only, not a cutting file. Beware that if you are going to cut these out, there's a limit to the size that you can do dependent on the turning point of your blade. You can't do them ridiculously small. You've got to do them a reasonable size if you're going to cut them, but you can do them much, much smaller if you are drawing them. So there is a big difference in that. So I'm just going to return the map back down to size. So that's one of our words, and that was the adore. Right, so now we're going to crack on with some of the other parts of the file, and you would do, you would do that with the rest of your words, and you could add alternative ones, but I've included adore, sweet one and darling in the actual file that I'm putting up on my blog, which is Beverly 10 Blogspot, where you can download the file for free. So, getting on to the actual baby bottle. First of all, we need a rounded rectangle. I'm going to bring that on, and we need to resize it to 2.28 inches by 4.80 inches. And we'll say OK. Oh, I've got it maintain aspect ratio, so that's just showing you what I've done there is just created a square, and what I want is a rectangle, and the reason it did that is because I hadn't unchecked the maintain aspect ratio. So I'm going to do that now, and there will be what would be our baby's bottle. I'm going to rotate it by 90 degrees so that it's upright. Okay, then I'm going to get another rounded rectangle, this one this time, and I'm going to resize that to 1.14 inches by 2.7 inches. Okay, and that's what's going to form the top of our bottle, if you will. And I'm going to make a duplicate of that just in case we need one, and I'm also going to duplicate that. It's easier to duplicate your shapes at this stage than when you've actually started to weld them together, etc. So I'm just going to align them on the vertical axes, and so that shape is now central to that shape. So I'm going to select both, and I'm going to hit weld when I've selected both. So edit and weld. So that's forming that top part of the bottle. This one's going to come over on top later to form that part. separate so you can make it more three-dimensional. So I'm going to duplicate that one again because I will need that one to go on there. And just for the sake of the video, I'm going to make that blue, and I think I'll do the trims for this file blue. So that's that one. Now, what I need to do now is I'm going to make some sort of little cutouts there, if you were in the thing, that look like the screw part where you'd grip onto and you were screwing that top back on. And I'm going to do that by, I'm going to take a duplicate of that one and I'm going to resize it to 0.24, whoops, by 0.78, say OK. Now that's giving us a little shape, and I'm going to rotate that by 90 degrees, and I'm going to bring that in, oops, flip that round somehow, just to give me an idea of the size of the shape. Let's have a look at that. I'd actually think that might benefit from being a little bit longer, so I'm going to make it 0.86 as opposed to 7/8 and see what that looks like. And I think that's looking a little bit better. So I'm going to centre both of those shapes. So centre horizontal, centre vertical. And then I'm going to select it, duplicate it. And then I'm going to move that into position next to that one. Or more or less, it doesn't have to be exact at this stage. I'm going to duplicate again. And I'm going to move that there. And then I'm going to do it a couple more times for the rest of it. So I'm going to spread them out as evenly as I can across this bottle top, if you will. So like so. It doesn't have to be perfect, but there we go. So that will do for me. And I'm just going to line everything up by selecting everything that's on that file and lining it up on the horizontal axis, so the axis going across. Then I'm going to select everything. I'm just going to check, see what's on top, and it looks like that's on top, so I need to send that to the back so that the little shapes are on top, which they are now. Select everything and edit, process the overlap and remove overlap, and that's going to punch out those shapes as you see. And what it has done is left those behind. Now I'm just going to delete those, so that when it fits onto there is going to show through whatever the colour of this is underneath and give it a little bit more dimension. Okay, so I'm just going to undo that for a second, go back to there, because the other way of doing that is to do select everything, edit and subtract. And that does it without leaving the little white ones behind. It just depends which way you want them. If you want the little white ones maybe to pop up on something, that's fine, do it that way. If you want it just a straight punch out, then do it using the end one, which is subtract. So that's just two ways of getting that shape. So there we've got that bit now. So now we're going to move on to the actual teat part of the baby's bottle. Another rounded rectangle for the top part of the teat, and we're going to resize it. So we're just going to do this by eye, and I'll tell you the dimensions when I'm happy with it. So I'm going to move it into position. I think it's going to be okay about there. I'll bring on a square one and then I'm sure. I just want it to be straight across, so not quite in the middle but just thereabouts. And the size of that teat then was 0.89 by 2.04 inches, making sure that the square's on top, and process overlap and remove the overlap, and that will then give us half of what we had from that, and that's going to be the top part of the teat on the bottle, if you will. So I'm just going to move that out of the way for now. What I'm going to do is duplicate that, because what I'm going to do next is just ever so slightly overlap those two, edit, centre them on the vertical axes and edit and weld them together. So this is giving me a base shape that I can build all my other layers onto, so obviously that's going to go behind. So this one, the blue one should now be on top, this one. So that's going to be edit, bring it to the top, just so we can see what we're doing. And then there's going to be the first part of the teat, and we'll make that orange, sort of the teatish colour, if you will, that on a baby's bottles. A lot of them today are silicone and they're not actually that colour, but I just think it's a bit more retro to have that. And I think I'm going to change the main colour of the bottle to a milky colour. So we'll go with that one for now. Okay, so that's what we're looking like. That needs to be up a layer. So that's going to be up another layer. There we are. But that's still underneath that one. Okay, so moving that down a little. So you can see now how you're going to be able to stack these on top of one another, like so. So that's that bit. So now we need to get onto the teat part. So again, I'm just going to make a duplicate of that. Like I said, it's easier to make duplicates now rather than later when you've welded stuff together. So we now need the nipple part, which is this shape here. Pull it on, and that needs to be sized to about 1.43 by about 0.87, and we'll have a look at that, see what it looks like. Okay, so that's that. Move that into the centre, and I'm going to select both, edit, and process over, align them centrally on the vertical axes, and then weld. So that's giving us the teat for our bottle. Just change the colour there, and that will fit on the top like so. I'm going to make a duplicate of that. I'm going to put that on the top there, align everything on the vertical axes, and weld. So again, this is just giving us that base shape that we can then mat everything else onto later. Okay, so that's the basics of the baby bottle complete. So we've got all of our parts. Just going to change some of the colours so you can get an idea what it's going to look like cut out. I mean, you can choose whatever colours you wish. You could obviously make it pink, blue, or if you're unsure of the baby's sex just now, you could leave it generic. I'm just going to move that to the top. Incidentally, when you're moving your layers like so, when you see that one's behind, so if we bring it to that brings it up one layer, and this one brings it right up to the very top. So I'm going to bring it up to the very top, so it will be on top of that one initially, but it's easier for me to do that and then send it back just one layer by using this one, which sends it back one layer. That send it all the way to the back again. That just send it underneath where we were. So I shouldn't have done that actually. That should be, is that on, it's on top? It's not on top. So we bring that one to the very top, and then we're right. So that will be how we would start to assemble the bottle. So you can see how we've got that base layer to mat everything onto. And that's our baby's bottle complete. Right, so I'm going to use that part of the baby's bottle to help us with making the baby's soother. Okay, so now we're going to make the bottom part of the soother, and we're going to use the copy of this one, which fits perfectly there. Then we're going to select a circle, and we're going to size it down so that it fits at the bottom. It's going to form the handle of our soother, and it's going to be about, when I've made it slightly oval, about 2.14 inches by 1.93 roughly, thereabouts. Then we're going to duplicate that and shrink that down. We're going to put that to the top edge, if you will. I'm going to move it out so you can see how that's up towards the top edge. And I'm going to highlight both and subtract. Now that should have left us with just a piece that's going to fit there. So I'm going to move that up to the top there, and I'm going to line them up on the vertical axes and then weld them together. Now we've got the perfect handle for our soother. If you're wanting to add a 4-stitch line, You can do that. I'm just zooming in so you can see what I'm doing. Go to edit, and it's this offset. Remember, that's the distance of the offset there. And we're going to shrink that down to quite low, and we're going to maybe make it slightly, maybe we'll go for 0.08 inches inward and say OK. So that's that. Click on the inward one, make it a drawing line and also a dash line. Then click on the one behind, we can make that blue. And if we group them together now, then we can move them as one entity. And we'll just view fit to match so you can see what I'm doing. And so that's forming the perfect handle. And anything else that you want to add for stitching to, you're doing exactly the same way. So now you've got all your shapes that you need for your baby's bottle and for your soother. I've shown you how to do one word at the beginning, and you just use that same process to make as many or as few words as you wish. Just as an aside, I'm going to show you now is how you can make this into a card. So what you would do is take that shape. We're just going to move all these other things out of the way by selecting them and shoving them off to the side so that we've got this one. Now we're going to need 3 of these, one that's going to form our top layer and the other 2 that are going to form our card. So what we need to do first of all is make sure that they are centered on the horizontal axes, and we're going to shunt one across until it's touching. Now that's going to be a really small overlap, and down here it could be waggling about a bit. So all you need to do to solve that is make yourself what I call a little bridge. So you just bring in a square shape and bring it doesn't have to be perfect or in the middle or anything like that. All that's actually doing is going to form a bridge. So when we actually weld everything together, that's going to disappear anyway, and you've now got that bridge at the bottom that's going to help hold that card together. The only next thing we need to do is add a score line. So if you click on the create a line, a path, when you go to that corner there where they join, it comes up a square. If you click it and then drag it straight down, I'm going to just redo that so I can show you again. So redo the weld. So click onto that, watch it go to that, then hold your shift key down, click, drag it down until you get to the other side, and then double click, and that will form your fold line. Then you need to make sure that you select just that, so make sure that those are at the back, the ones that are on the top. We just want that score line selecting, so I'm going to zoom in so I can get it. So we just need that selecting. So all I've got now is the score line selected. Go to your properties, make it a cutting line and then a perforating line, and that's going to make your fold line for your card. So view fit to mat. So what that's going to do then, it will cut that out. You could fold that over to, that's going to fold to that side, and then what you would do once it's folded up, that would become your top layer, so that you've got something to build the rest of your bottle on. And then you can add your embellishments. You could make the smoother smaller to fit on it, or whatever. You can add your words onto it: baby, adore, little one, little girl, baby boy, and so on. You could actually resize everything. So if we select everything and we bring it to the middle and then we group it, we can make it bigger, we could just make it wider if we wanted, but we can resize the whole thing in proportion. Then we could obviously then we would ungroup it so that we can select things, and then you see you've got a bigger size card and so on. Just be careful about, actually I didn't actually need to just go back there, because what I've just realised is what I haven't done, edit, ungroup, and which I should have told you to do when I was doing it, is once you've got everything like so, so if I move everything back out of the way, and just move everything out of the way, select the line and the score line and group them. So when we now move that card, if you will. It's moving the score line perfectly with it as well. Okay, so all you'd need to do then is give it some sort of a title, whatever you want to call it, and save it using this button, and then download it to your machine for cutting on your scan and cut. Right, I hope you've enjoyed the video and I hope it's been helpful for you. If you have, please like, share and subscribe. If you would like a copy of the file, please head over to my blogspot, which is Beverly 10 Blogspot. I do leave a link to this in the description box below, and you're more than welcome to download the file and make it into projects that you can use for your own cards. And you could also, if you wish, sell these cards. What I do ask if you please don't do is sell my files either as an individual file or as a group. I would appreciate that. If you do think your friends might benefit from using them, tell them to head over to my blog and download it. It's free to do so. If you have liked the video, please do give us a thumbs up. It helps to grow the channel, and I'll see you in my next video. So thanks for watching. See you soon.